making an irresistible offer is without a doubt the easiest way to grow. Number two, it's the way to grow the fastest. Of everything that we've done in the last 7 years of Right Hook and 10 years of me doing marketing, nothing outbeats an irresistible offer.
And welcome back to yet another episode of the Right Hook Pod. Today's episode, we are talking about irresistible offers and a little bit about pricing and how pricing and positioning and value ties into the whole thing to make it irresistible. As always, we've got Ray here. Ray, how we doing?
Good, man. I just got off a really cool call with an 8-figure brand. And what's interesting what I talk about on this podcast is nine. That's right. It's 9 brands. Nine brand. Well, anyways, I'm feeling great, dude. Have a great week. The dojo's had a great week. A lot of wins in the DTC Dojo that I'm really proud of. And and late last night, I was actually on a mentoring call with someone in the group. And in the first 7 days of working in the group, they made $7,000.
Oh, so like early starter kind of brand?
Yeah.
Nice. That's super awesome. And this presentation is one that the thing that you're talking about today, that's something that you showed to the people in that DTC Dojo group as well, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So it's a talk we did about a week ago, because what's a thing that a lot of them struggle with is like, how do I still compete when all of my margins being competed away? Whether that's because meta's getting more expensive, or is that because more competitors are in the space? And so it's often the number one question I get.
Say Temu. You got to say Temu.
Temu, that's right. Well, do you say Temu? I say Temu.
Well, supposedly the official pronunciation is like Taylor Swift.
Really?
Yeah, supposedly it's Temu, but everyone just says Temu because it's spelt that way. But, it is from my Chinese people, so I figure I'd lean into however they want me to pronounce it. Otherwise, they might send people over and make my family disappear. So I'm playing nicely, guys. Don't make me disappear, please. Temu. Temu.
Well, what's actually funny is that another brand just like them called Shein. Have you heard of Shein?
Yeah, Shein, yeah. Super fast fashion. Like there's fast fashion and then there's Shein.
Yeah. And they're like the Temu, but just for fashion. But for years, I call it Shein. I don't know why. So I look like a spell.
Because it looks like
my wife had to correct me last month. It's like, no, it's called Shein. I was like, oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, like like she's in. Yeah, totally.
No, but it's actually fascinating. I know this isn't the point of the conversation, but if you've ever studied Shein's business model, it is so insanely smart. Is if they can just get you in on a really great deal. My wife has literally bought 30 pieces of shirts or pants or jewelry, gifts for friends, because it's so affordable that it's incredibly smart, because now she gets deals, flash deals. She gets emails, text message for it. Mm-hmm. And now they're also selling kids clothes too. And so that once they ask you, how old is your kid? They even perfectly match the clothing to their age group. And it's like, dude, it's a bad deal.
Now you understand the evil geniuses. Like once she's in Shein. Yeah. Oh God, I'm horrible at this. This is so cheesy. Dad joke alert, everyone. Let's jump into it, man. Like this irresistible offer thing, especially, like now leading up to Q4 as well, starts to take on a different type of meaning. And especially if you're also starting to test out what type of offers you want to start having for that quarter and the mega sale season. What we're talking about here starts to take on a whole different texture and meaning, and a lot more gravity than just like, oh yeah, I'll just, keep testing offers. So Ray, take the wheel.
Great. So this talk we did in the mentoring group, because the number one question I get inside there is like, how do I get more sales? How do I get more new customers? Because surprisingly, a lot of brands, their issue isn't necessarily keeping customers. A lot of the brands that in our mentoring group and our current brands, for the most part, they have a pretty good repeat customer rate. It's how do I just get more new people? Because that's really the lifeblood of your brand. It's like, how can I get them, control the volume of new customers I get, and then how can I keep them? Like, that's really the e-commerce game. Now, so this talk, I wanted to help our brands understand that there's many different ways you can go on this path. But at the end of the day, if you want to significantly scale your brand quickly, there's one way that has never failed. And this one way, from my experience, beats all other ways. And that is what I call how to be irresistible. Now, irresistible can be using sex to sell. Irresistible can just be making your product irresistible. I'll leave it to you guys and how you want to do that. But the key is to be irresistible. Now, there's many ways you can do it. Like some brands, yes, you can go viral on TikTok. Or D, you had a YouTube video go fairly viral for you, right? And now you're becoming maybe irresistible. You're becoming the person to go to on, that's right. So check out these YouTube. That's a small plug for you. I think you make some awesome videos. But being irresistible. So how do you become irresistible? Well, of all the things you can do, making an irresistible offer is without a doubt the easiest way to grow. Number two, it's the way to grow the fastest. Of everything that we've done in the last 7 years of Right Hook and 10 years of me doing marketing, nothing outbeats an irresistible offer. For example, we had Ash on the pod a couple weeks ago, right? This is actually the brand Ash managed. And really the one thing that grew it that fast was just a really great offer. We repackaged it. Yes, we changed up the ad account structure and the creative strategy, but really it was just a better positioning of the offer. And that's what scaled that brand. So why a brand should be thinking about doing this is if you're feeling like you stalled, or you feel like it's hard to get new customers, typically that's a pretty good sign that you need to do something else to be more appealing. And I'm a huge fan of acquisition offers for that reason.
Totally.
So an acquisition offer can be many different things. There's many different types of offers that we can talk about. But I just want you guys to see this. This was a brand that when we were working with for some time, that they were acquiring on average like 2,000 new customers a month. But the moment one of their acquisition offers took off, their new customers 3x'd. And that same brand ran that offer for a year and a half, and they wanted to become an 8-figure brand, all from the back of a really good irresistible offer. And that's just one brand. We've done this for a lot of other brands. But that's the power of a really good acquisition offer, is nothing else can change new customer trajectory like a new offer can. So what I want to do is I just want to, with you, D, just talk about how can you go about finding an acquisition offer. There's later on the call, I'd love to show you what I walk through in the mentoring group of how I actually help them come up with offers on that call.
Oh, but nice.
How do you make an acquisition offer? The first way is you just have to freaking ask. Ask your customers what kind of offer they'll be interested in. So you can use no commerce. You can use an actual survey. Actually, this the same strategist, Ash, who was on the podcast, he did this for a different brand. We actually haven't talked about this one, where they're trying to come up with an acquisition offer. And he just made a survey and we sent it out to their customers and asked them. And based off the combination of what we got back, helped to pinpoint, well, this is the kind of offer that would actually be irresistible for them. And just by doing that, the brand made an extra 100K just by doing that. So there's something to be said about just asking people what they want.
Yeah, totally. Well, so just in case, we might have people watching that don't know. This is going to sound so silly, me thinking it now. The people that are watching this that might not know no commerce. What are some ways? So just ask. Short, like what are the actual tangible ways that they can go ask? Would that be so post-purchase survey being one of them, which like certain tools and certain plugins, certain Shopify apps allow you to have that just plugged into the experience. What are the other methods that we use to be able to pull or at least get that feedback from the customer base?
It's actually quite easy. You can use a tool like a no commerce, which is a SaaS tool that when someone shows up on thank you page, you can ask them a bunch of surveys, one of our favorite tools. Or frankly, you can use like Google Forms, which is a free tool. You can use a Typeform, which is a free tool. So just to kind of sneak peek it, this is actually where for this brand, we just use Typeform. And we literally asked them, if we offered a certain product, do you think you would choose multiple pairs instead of just one. And then we gave them different offer suggestions. Like, it's not rocket science, it's just kind of thinking ahead. What kind of offer do I think they'd be interested in? And there's a bunch of guidelines you can go through. But really just asking them, like, that's it. Like, this is the brand that made an extra $100,000 after we asked them the offer, and then we made the offer, and then we launched the offer.
Yeah, got you. And I mean, as we're getting deep into the weeds right now, maybe it might be worthwhile taking a step back a little bit and going, what are the elements that make it irresistible before we get into the tactical, like ask people, et cetera, right? Like, so from a consumer customer standpoint, what are the things that make it irresistible? Like, what do we look out for, even with our own radar and our own filter, to go, okay, we're close or we're far away?
So I was having a late night mentoring call with someone in the DTC Dojo because she needed help planning offers. And thankfully, she did an amazing job of surveying her customers. Like, dude, you should see the level of detail she went into to survey her customers. Like, she knows everything about them now. But one of the things that became obviously clear that answers your question is when asking the customers, if you could have any offer you wanted, what would it be? And then she let them answer back. It was more of just their best selling product is what it turned out to be. Meaning her top 5 selling products is what they wanted more offers around. Either like a buy one, get one free, or get a free sample with extra scents and aromas. So that's what we typically find is like the best acquisition offers typically come from your top 5 best products.
Right. And possibly some permutation of that as well. Right. Like, so the reason why I'm asking that question is because last week when I was in Sydney, I was at the Retail Fest, which is, for the folks in the US, it's kind of like the Shop Talk version, the Aussie version of Shop Talk, right? Where once a year there's this big conference, all the retailers and all the e-commerce people show up for a 2-3 day event. This was a roadshow. I was on a panel and we were talking about just navigating growth in this type of economy and the current state of the market. And naturally, Q4 came up. And the panel consisted of big retailers, a brand strategist, someone on the performance marketing display side, and then myself. And one of the talking points that came up around Q4 and around offers in general is that about discounting and how discounting can be a very easy way to stoke revenue, but not necessarily an easy way to stoke. It doesn't translate directly to the bottom line. And I got challenged on the panel to go, well, how do you guys do it? Surely discounting, if it's discounting, then it's kind of like cheating. It's like a cheat code and it doesn't really help the business, right? And my response to that was, when we're thinking about what we're offering to the market and what's best for the brand, the key word that we're looking for is value, because that's all people are looking for. They're looking for a great deal. So a great deal does not necessarily mean an 80% off site-wide, like now only for a day or anything like that. It could just be, wow, they've never offered this type of bundling of product before. If I buy them individually, it's going to cost me this much. They're finally offering a bundle, and they probably are offering that bundle because that brand has asked their customers before and put it together in that type of a way where it makes sense for their bottom line, but people are eating up because it's like, finally, I get my, I don't know, I get some kind of like stack where I'm not going to promote the brand because I think it's a crap brand anyway, but I get my stack of like vitamin D3K2 and some kind of green powder and also the red powder and also their protein thing in a bundle. And previously it was going to cost me like, I could only buy them individually and it was going to cost me like, I don't know, $200. But for now it's because it's a bundle, it's like 180 and there's a subscription button there. So it doesn't have to be this massive discount thing for massive value. So I think that's where a lot of the room were sitting there going like, oh, that's very interesting. Like it's about value, not about discounting. It's just a different lens looking at the same thing, which is to stoke greater sales, acquire greater amount of customers.
D, when you were at that event, and especially talking about the value versus like discounting on margin, I'm curious to hear, were some of the brands that you talked to, were there any types of offers that maybe they mentioned that really stuck out that for them perform better than just giving away margin?
That's the unfortunate thing. Most of them were going straight for the margin game, the discount game.
It's easy.
And so, I guess that's why what I said kind of made everyone's head just tilt to the side a little bit, like, oh man, I really need to start thinking hard here. Cause yeah, D's right. Like I am giving away my margin and pricing it that way. And the further challenge that I asked them was here's the analogy I gave. The analogy I gave was, if you're not thinking hard about how you're presenting your offerings of product, permutations, et cetera, pricing, all that to the market, if you're not thinking hard about that, like thinking to the point where it kind of hurts, and you're just going with the discount thing, binge discounting is a bit like binge drinking. You're just borrowing margin from tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like because what you're doing is you're conditioning your audience, people that might not have bought from you yet, but are maybe following you on social, or they're on your email list, and they start noticing like, oh, every 2 months, this brand just starts like slashing prices, and then they sell out of whatever they sell out on for that stock, but it comes back again later, and then they slash it again. So now I know how to respond to this brand. You're training your customers accordingly, which is the anti-version of our drop approach and our product drop methodology, where we're training them the other way to go like, yo, don't sleep on this, because once it's out, right? So point being, irresistible offer does not mean 80% off. And if you're so addicted to that drug, you're going to screw yourself over, because you're training your future customers accordingly. So irresistible meaning they look at that and they go, this is great value. This is a great deal. I am in, and I can't wait for the next one.
And what's surprising about irresistible offers is it doesn't have to be something that you do a new one every quarter, every month. Like we've had brands that they ran a good acquisition offer for a year and a half or 2 years, and it turned into an 8-figure brand. So it doesn't have to be a constant thing. But as you were talking about that talk that you did at the retail event, there's a brand that we used to work with that I'm still on their email list. And unfortunately, it's gotten pretty obvious that they must be in financial strain, because if you went to my email address and you just typed in their brand name, and I did this not too long ago, and you pull up every email that they've sent my email address, like in the last 3 months.
In your inbox, you mean?
Offer, discount, offer, offer, discount, offer, discount. To where now it's gotten so predictable that anytime, even for me, like I see that brand name come up, I'm like, oh, here's another offer, to where now they're probably in this doom loop that they can't get out of, versus using value, which doesn't have to give away margin. How can I have something that gives away value? And then if you want to do offers, price discounts, you can sporadically, but
yes,
every week, man, it's a new email for another offer. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, exactly. So back to Ray's point, now that we've established how an irresistible offer is not about discounting, and it is about contributing to your new customer acquisition, but then also you have to watch out for your bottom line. We can circle back to method number 1, which is absolutely asking your customers, because they will tell you what they want. What's next?
And the good part about customers telling you what they want, it doesn't mean you have to do it, but at least this way, directionally, I'm going to make an offer that's going to land well or not land well. Like, gosh, how many times have we seen brands, D, that they did an offer that in a silo, it sounded really good, but when they launched it, literally no customer wanted it. Then they had to scramble and do something different. So
100%.
Always go first with your customers. They're going to tell you what they want, and then it's your job to find out if you can make it work or not.
100%. All brand owners have to do is steal the methodology from stand-up artists, from stand-up comedians. Your first gig, really, you should not be dropping a whole bunch of coin or a whole bunch of inventory for like a Madison Square Garden scale, like event for your first comedy special, right? Like you're really, it should be all the small little nightclubs. You see whether like people are laughing back at your jokes or not, and you're testing and testing and testing and testing, and you're finding that signal and that feedback to make up your 60 minutes. That's the conventional wisdom for most comedians. That really, we should be stealing that kind of conventional wisdom in this type of a way: post-purchase surveys, sending out polls and surveys via email, understanding that, and then committing the inventory rather than, if you're doing it in a vacuum, that's just scary shit.
I'm always amazed how little we bet on just talking to our customers and asking them what they want. It sounds so obvious when you say it out loud, but I mean, we have to be reminded of it. When for example, we have an agency, when we're running their accounts, running their marketing, and not everyone's perfect. Sometimes brands go through plateaus and they have seasonality and sales are up, sales are down. That unfortunately, sometimes actually asking, well, let's talk to the customers and see what they want first before like trying all these different things, like on a hamster wheel to try to make it work.
Yeah.
Which kind of brings into the next part, which is once you ask your customers what they want, then it's to dive into your products in your store. Okay, based off what they said they wanted, what makes sense? What products do I have that could fit that? What do they naturally flock to? Also is, okay, what are some bottlenecks or hindrances people often have in purchasing this product? Sometimes an offer, as crazy as it sounds, doesn't always have to be something you give away. It can be something like a guarantee can be an offer, right? That can help your offer as well, your offering.
Yes.
And then asking the question, like, if I was in the customer's shoes, what would make me, like what you said, say hell yes and buy it?
Right. Totally. Yeah, I got you. What, when you said, let me start looking at my product, my brand, my store, et cetera, and what makes sense, how do you go about the sense making? Do you look at it from a financial, like a unit economic standpoint, availability of inventory standpoint? What are the different areas here?
Yes. Unit economics, first of all. So I think a really great example would be the conversation I had late last night with one of our mentoring brands. So she pulled up all of her products, had all of her margins, and we're trying to make an acquisition offer. And we knew based off the survey, well, the top 5 is what people really want. Okay, cool. Then of those top 5, which ones have better margins? Which ones is the cheapest to make? And which ones is really easy to get more and make more of? Because if you're going to do an offer, like you want something that for you, it's not going to break your business. It's not like a monumental task to undertake. So one thing that we did is a really great way is to use this template. So this is a template D that we actually gave our brands inside of the dojo. So essentially what this is this template allows us to show what are good offers. So for example, I've got some offers here. This is a real brand showing real offers. We essentially list out what the offers are and we just plug in the numbers. Like what's the cost of goods for that offer? What's the pick and pack fees? What would be the gateway processing fees? Also, what is the shipping cost if the offer is going to include shipping or not free shipping? So that we can see the unit economics right here of, okay, well, what's the margin without free shipping? What's the margin with free shipping? Just so you can make a really good basis of which offer economically makes sense for my brand.
Nice. Yeah. Once you've spoken to customers and gotten signals back and you've established numbers like these, where to is the next thing that needs to get done?
So what I tell brands is play around with it. So for example, I think this will be just for a second to play with. So we have a fashion brand, they sell a hoodie and their best selling products is their hoodie and their hats. So after surveying, naturally it makes sense. Well, why don't we do an offer around these best selling products people love? But then by running through the numbers, by doing a price offer or a bang for a buck offer, which is an offer category, where they can buy one hoodie, get one free, or buy 2 hoodies, get one for $45. Like the margins weren't that great. But by bundling a product that for a hat is one of the cheapest products they make that sells for good margins and giving a free one away with that along with the hoodie, the margins are actually still quite good, and they could run acquisition on that. So I tell brands, until you've really played around with different scenarios so that you know both sides of the coin, keep doing that and go to extremes. Try buy 3, get 2 free. Try buy this product and get these samples. So I say play around with it first, and then let the economics tell you what makes viable sense. And then the next step is, frankly, just to go and test it.
Yeah, great. And that's why I'm such a big fan of planning, right? Like, because, and keep in mind, everyone, like I came from working in TV and in film. As long as it stays on the page, changes are free. That's something we say in the business all the time. As long as it stays on the page, everything is free. What do I mean? You can write a line that says, and the helicopter crashes into the Empire State Building. And your producer would sit there and go, how the hell are we going to afford a helicopter that crashes into the Empire State Building? Or this has to be CG, Please go back and change it. And if you just strike that out on your script and you go, and a mosquito flies into the Empire State Building, all of a sudden that changes the financial outlay and all the resources required dramatically differently. So as long as we're staying on that sheet and we're playing with those numbers, it's just an exercise of imagination and an exercise of forecasting, not a one of, okay, we're actually just going to send it. Because that scares the hell out of me.
You're exact. It's funny. I think there's a lot of hang up where people, even just launching an offer, like they're so scared to do it. It's a zero risk scenario when you think about it. So I launch an offer. No one buys. Cool. Just change the website. Or a crap ton of people buy. You can literally just take it down. Or if a lot of people buy, great. Now you know what worked, didn't work. So it's really a zero risk fail in that scenario. But one thing I actually want to ask you, D, is a lot of people get stuck on pricing. What should I price the offer? How do I know what I should price it? I want to be perceived as quality, but yet I also want it to be buyable by a big addressable market of people who are price conscious. So how do you consult with brands and tell brands how they should think about pricing? Because there's kind of two sides to that coin.
Oh man, there's so many sides to that coin. It's like a 12D coin, like a 4D. I don't even know it's a 3D. So the mental model I use when it comes to thinking about brand perception and product perception kind of goes like, okay, well, underpinning the whole thing is brand. And then beyond brand is product. Beyond product is offerings. Beyond offerings is messaging. And then beyond messaging, which is also kind of like positioning, sits all the marketing. So performance, et cetera, right? And we go into debates about this all the time, especially in our industry, because performance marketers crap all over brand marketers and brand marketers crap all over performance marketers because they think that they're like piss weak. Like one thinks the other side's too soft. It's like watching the left and the right try to have a conversation. It's hilarious. But both of them love America. I'm like, yeah, sweet. But you know, I get what's happening here. Let's sit down and have a beer. So what I mean is your most D2C conventional wisdom is really until you've earned your way into like 8 figures or whatever, you should be focusing on performance, not brand. Following so far, everyone, hopefully. However, just because you're focusing on performance does not mean that the way that you put these things forward does not taint your brand perception. Like it can go all the way down. So to your point, Ray, if the pricing starts looking like it's questionable, like really cheap as chips, people might buy it, but it might chip away your brand positioning, your brand perception for future margin or for future gains. So I don't know, if you showed me this phone and you said, hey brother, would you like to buy this phone? It's not the latest model. It's last year's model. $15. Great deal here. As much as academically we go, oh my God, that is a steal. Another part of our brain goes, what's the catch? Like, was this made in like where, I don't know, like some kind of sweatshop, or is it broken, or is it just going to like harvest all of my data? There's a part that starts questioning the quality of what you're receiving, right? So point being, there is a sweet spot of pricing, and the best way to really understand that is just do a market study and go to Amazon, where most products are non-branded but commoditized, and it is a price comparison and a price competition kind of market, or at least marketplace. Look at what's there, and then go out there and go, well, what similar brands and product offerings sit in the upper echelon? So where's the ceiling? Where's the floor? And where do I want to play within the ceiling and floor? And then going into the customer review section, and also their social comment section. And I try to identify what types of people are actually playing at the upper echelon and buying there, and who's here. And then what I typically tend to do also is kind of look at like, what about complaint rates and return rates? So just because over here it looks like a lot of people are buying, does not necessarily
of your store or just the market in general
of the people that like at the lower tier, at the middle tier, the higher tier, right? Because just because they've got a ton of sales does not mean that their customer support isn't just getting slammed. So now your cost is going somewhere else, or you need to invest in that resource because they just complain more because they want it cheap, and they also want it fast, and they also like more demanding customers. So that's number one. And then number two is a conversation that I had with the founder a few months ago, and it goes like this. The question was, how much can I lean? I really want to maintain and start lifting my my jewelry, the pricing for my jewelry, right? I'm a jewelry designer. Mm-hmm. This is small batch, and I really care about my product. How much can I lean on my product to speak for itself and demand that pricing that I really want to put out, versus how much of it has to be me because I feel uncomfortable on camera and I feel like it should be about the product. I don't really want to highlight myself as the founder. And my reply to her was, and this would be a bit dated because of all the debacle that Mr. Beast is going through right now. But point being, Mr. Beast has no business in the chocolate business. But yet, because he has that fame and that notoriety, Feastables is everywhere, right? The Paul brothers have no business in the CPG prime like hydration business, but because there's that notoriety, they have volume and they can kind of call their price. I remember when Luke and we were all over in Nashville, and Luke was like going to all the supermarkets trying to find some Prime to fly home to New Zealand, because over New Zealand it's like 4x the price, and his son really, really wanted some Prime, right? So the notoriety part, if you lean on that, you have that demand power. You get to sway demand. If you don't have that, then your product has to be like literally like LVMH level of perceived quality, Mercedes, like, those types of brands where you have that calling power because the brand and the perception of it is so fantastical that you don't ever have to play that game, and you get to call the shots. So it's really her asking the question, what do I have to do to be able to call the shots? As opposed to the market calling the shots, and then I'm at the slave to that. So either you build up your notoriety here, or you build up your notoriety there. But point being, the desirableness, the irresistibleness of that perception has to come into play. So you can't quite take an Amazon approach, because an Amazon approach is a price competitiveness approach. And maybe you sprinkle in more features and you optimize for, the very finite things that you optimize for within Amazon. It can do very, very well. But if you are not an Amazon brand, if you take an Amazon approach, you are essentially opting to go into a knife fight with an arm tied behind your back. So that's my super long take on it.
Would you agree that a brand also over time, as they build more notoriety, like for example, maybe they're a small brand, no one knows who you are. Mm-hmm. Can you come out of the gate swinging like a Louis Vuitton? More than likely not. But then over time, you could increase prices and create more margin as people become aware of who you are and you've been in business longer. Do you see that often happening in a realistic path for a lot of brands? You may not be stuck as the low price or the middle price forever.
It's funny how whenever we start talking about brands, people view the topic in absolute isolation. In a vacuum outside of like society at large. So what do I mean? What I mean is this entire game that we're playing is a trust game, right? So essentially, if no one knows you and your Shopify store, the design is crap, to be able to build some trust, the conventional wisdom is like put some trust icons so that it doesn't look like you're trying to scam people and, show people you have a customer service like portal and all that type of stuff. I'll bet you that Taylor Swift's first 100 concerts don't cost anywhere close to what she can charge now for one concert ticket, right? Like, point being, she earned her way into that type of trust, and then once it tips over from trust, it turns into fandom. Same thing with the brands. If you stick around long enough and you are constantly thinking about how am I communicating out to my fans, and if you really start thinking about them like you building fans, it takes on such a different nature because it's so much less transactional. Whereas if it's a sale, like, thanks, you've paid me money, I'll send you some emails. Sweet, you don't buy, see you later. Right? Like, for example, one of our brands that we work with that we are like, we're crushing together, and he's such a delightful guy. He still, as much as he's making the type of sales that he's making now, which is astronomical compared to when he first started, him and his team still send out handwritten notes for each item that gets sent out because he wants to build fans. Like, he understands that at a very fundamental level. He knows it's not scalable, but he goes, just because it's not scalable then doesn't mean I'm going to stop now. It's still scalable for me now. I can still do it now. So I'm just going to keep building on top of that. Point being, if he wants to raise prices, the fans, like Taylor Swift's fans, are not going to like revolt if there's like a $25 increase to the ticket price. And then next year another 25, and then next year another 50, right? They'll start to like escalate. And I'm sure on the secondary market, the tickets go for like bananas numbers. So yes, to answer your question in a really long way, the longer you stay in this game and the more you obsess over your fans. I mean, we've seen this time and time again, right? Like Mr. Beast, obsessed over that type of stuff. T Swift, clearly, she's obsessed over that type of stuff, like almost to the point of like being a sociopath about it. You build this relationship with them that is like almost like parasocial. People will walk up to you and say they love you, and then you've never met them.
It's kind of similar to the advice I gave the brand last night. So they've been in business for 7 years. They also make their own products. People know who they are. They have a pretty good, there's a stat she showed me that over the course of 12 months, people that are on her subscription plan, only 30% churn in an entire year. Meaning if she gets them on a subscription, 70% stay longer than 12 months, which is pretty big deal if you're in the CPG business.
Yes.
And when she was raising her prices on a particular product, she did it very incremental, just $3. And I asked her, I said, well, why only $3? Like, what's the thinking behind that? And the thinking was, well, I just don't want to increase you too much. And I feel like I'm going to price myself out for my customers buying. And so the thought process we had to go through was, well, how long have you been in business? Do your customers know the quality of your product? Do you have reputation? And you do. And so when you're pricing just like, because everyone else prices, but you have all this reputation, as well as you've been in business for so long, and you have the proof that people are willing to pay that price, maybe that's a good chance for you to be the high-end person in the market, and because you're higher quality than everybody else. But she paid her dues, though, because she's been in business for 7 years, right? And been advertising for years as well. So people do know who this brand is now. So she can take that step if she wants to.
Yeah, absolutely. And it always is scary. I'm not diminishing the fact that you run the risk of losing sales or pissing people off. But if you don't do it, then no risk, no reward. and you could just start to, stagnate. Right. But yeah, like the with that framework that I told you before, that's how I think through the whole stack to go. Like, I mean, just look at brands. It's not undoable. It's the same principles. Look at brands like Apple, for example. Irresistible brand, irresistible products. Like their offers, not really that irresistible. They're not. They almost hardly ever discount, right? Like maybe old stock, like refurbished type stuff, because they focus in on that element. And they, of course, like they're a unicorn in a lot of ways. But then, so you have your brand, your product, your offer, and then the messaging is what makes it more irresistible. Also, that's where, I have so much respect for the copywriters and the people that understand how to position it and use visuals, use language, use senses to pull people in to go, I gotta get this. It's a sight to behold whenever a new iPhone comes out and like people are waiting since 2 a.m. the night before. I'm going, it's a phone, guys. Like, but for them, it's so real because they're fans.
Speaking of iPhone, I remember when iPhones used to be so much cheaper, like $600. Now a new phone is like $1,300, $1,400. And I think it's quite interesting that recently,
like four figures.
I've noticed a lot of talk. Yeah, I've noticed talk around the phone where there's not enough innovation that now people are starting to be price conscious with their product drops. For example, I don't know if you know this, but Apple missed their sales targets whether because of the economy or interest rates, people are so much more conscious about their phones because they don't see how does the price justify. So long story short, why I like the pricing discussion so much is because if you can add a new mechanism to it. For example, like this brand is a CPG brand. Our recommendation was limited edition flavors, scents, patterns, so that now there's a bit more novelty to it. So people are willing to spend more money on a limited edition scent or flavor. And those are some of the fun things you can play with on the offers too, especially in the psyche. Limited edition, only gonna make 1,000 of these, or only for this month, I'm gonna give away a free sample. Mm-hmm. Now it really changes the perception of what people are willing to pay.
Yeah. Scarcity for an already desirable object is a very powerful psychological pull for sure. Guess what? A Taylor Swift concert is limited edition. She doesn't do one every single day in your neighborhood for like the entire year. She's not a busker, right? So once it happens, it's there. But the base desire already is there. The opportunity to open it up, that's where we can slot it in. Dude, let's start landing this plan. Like, so irresistible offers. If someone is watching this and they're going, oh my God, I didn't even know that this is something I really got to start doing. I thought it was just pick some products that are trending, go on AliExpress or, talk to manufacturers and suppliers, and then just start testing it this way. I want to try this irresistible offer thing and actually put some work behind it. Can we just give them like a whistle stop tour of the steps they got to take?
Yes. If you want to 3x your business using irresistible offers, it's very simple. Step number one is start asking customers what do they want and what's their favorite products that they would want a great offer for. Number two, actually pull out the numbers per product and look at economically what makes sense and play with different types and deviations and permutations of the irresistible offer. For example, you could go bang for buck offer, which is a BOGO. You could go price offer, 20% off. You could go risk reversal offer, 30-day buyback, right? You can go store credit. You can go a hybrid offer. If you buy this, I'll give you a free course, or every $1 you spend on the store gets you entered into this giveaway. Many different types of offers that don't give away margin. Play with the permutations. And then the next step after that is to then test it. One of the easiest ways to test it, literally make an email, send it to a customer list, see how it goes. If you like it, now roll it out to everybody else. That's a great way. That's typically what our team does, D, is how we can test many different offers in a very low risk way. Send it to a few thousand people. If they like it, cool. Now you can roll it out in ads or whatever, the other medium.
Awesome. Love those steps. And to just supplement Ray's point, we will probably say this till like until we're on our deathbed, Ray and I, test before you invest. It does not have to be this big Madison Square Garden scale thing. Test with your email list. Sending out emails is cost free. And then move on to, if you're starting to see signals there, move on to your social presence and see what an organic push can do. And then explore paid. Like, there are so many ways to approach this. There are some more sensible ways to approach this rather than going straight to paid and have the stakes like super, super high. And if you happen to be one of those founders that understands building fans and you have like a content, I don't know whether it's because you're vlogging your journey or whatever it might be, that audience right there, again, same thing, just tap on that. If you have a personal brand that sits alongside your brand. Ray, I appreciate this so much. If you have gotten to this part of the video, I was going to make Ray do this, but instead I'm going to do it. DTC Dojo is our mentoring group where Ray runs the show. Ray has wanted to do this for years. We've been debating it back and forth. Essentially, the premise is so many people come to our agency and knock on our doors and want to be able to work with us, but sometimes the economics just don't make any sense. What we mean is if they start working with any agency and start paying them, it takes away, they're so early in the stage of their business that it takes away their ammunition, cash, to be able to invest internally. So DTC Dojo is what we came up with, a mentoring group where there is a weekly group call. There is a Telegram group with several different channels. And there's also time to steal from Ray, the man himself, for a very affordable price. Talk about irresistible offer. I really do believe that this is an irresistible offer. This group is small right now, which I love so much because we made it low stakes too. We didn't turn it into a Madison Square Garden thing. We wanted to make sure that we gave the love and attention to the people that come in. Because it's small, you get to steal more of Ray. I jump in there every once in a while, but unfortunately not as much as I want. Moving into the future, we've got expert speakers coming in. We've got our team and the strategists coming in. We've got a whole bunch of stuff coming in too. So if you're thinking about getting some type of system and support in place like that, where you're not reliant on an agency or you're not ready for an agency and you want that support, real case studies, real troubleshooting, and also real experiments that we're running right now and advice, check out the link in the description below. We will get you into DTC Dojo and you'll get to hang out with Ray more. How did I do? Was that, that was pretty okay.
Great plug, man.
Man, I feel like I was on like a ShamWow like commercial for a second there.
I mean, dude, like you're exactly right. Like, the group's got 23 people and people are growing. People are the biggest part is unbottlenecking what's stopping them from growing even more. That's the most important part, because like I'm diving into their numbers with their business, diving into their email sequences, their pop-ups. And dude, like it's a great community. People are sharing their wins. And I think it's probably, in my opinion, the best mentorship, because I got started in a mentorship and a lot of them have lost what made them so special. Like we're pulling up back ends, real ad accounts, auditing people's marketing, auditing people's finances. And it's really cool. Like there's no BS and I love it.
Drop us some, it's only been a month, right? Drop us some wins already that some of the people, some of the group members have experienced.
Yeah. So one of my favorite, actually just happened this week. So there's a brand in there, an Australian brand. It's a fashion brand. And after the offer training, so you guys got a sneak peek on that today, on the offer training, she threw together an offer and in the first 7 days made $11,000 from it. And so now she's turned it into ads as well. And now she's putting some ad spend behind it. And so I just had a one-on-one coaching call with her. And I told her you need in the checkout, allow people and remind them they can double, triple, or quadruple up on the offer. Meaning they could buy many more sets. Because if she could do that, she could literally 2x or 3x the margin on it. So that was a great suggestion. Another brand, his emails weren't delivering the performance they should have been. So following the retention playbooks in the course that we have inside the mentorship group, he went and fixed it and in 7 days made an additional $7,000 from flows that frankly were already running, but they just weren't running that well.
Nice.
Another brand as well is making more margin now, following the training on how to better position your products. Other people are getting better performance on their ad accounts as well by restructuring it. Also going through our creative strategy modular. Yeah, so there's a lot of wins happening, man. It's a great community. I can't wait to see how the Black Friday rolls out, because we're going to do specific trainings in the group on how to prep for Black Friday. Because I remember 2 people in the group, we did a training with them last year, and they 2x their business by just listening to that advice. So working one-on-one with them, I can't wait to see what they achieve this year.
That's going to be super exciting. All right, ladies and gents, we are going to wrap it up here. If you're thinking about getting any type of support whatsoever, you don't have to do this alone, and you definitely do not have to watch like 6,000 hours of YouTube. It's a very confusing place. Like, we're on here, we get it, we know how it works. We know that everyone's kind of putting their message forward. If you want to cut through that noise for a very affordable monthly membership price, do check out the link in the description below. We are here to help as many brands as possible get to a place where they continue to grow and thrive in this market that we're in right now. Ray, thanks for today. And as always, we'll see everyone in the next episode. Adios, everybody.